had with a plate in front of it. It looked like we had the plate. You know,
You mean like we went to, what was it, IMAX, we watched 3D classes, we looked like we had bug eyes in front of
yeah.
us.
People don't care about the experience. If it's something, you know, you gotta get them to watch the thing. If they watch it, then you can go to something else. First, you gotta get them through the door. Okay, I'm from the early days of television. I wanna tell you, what we put on early TV was pure, you'd have to shovel it out of the stockyards. It cost, you know, like, let's see, how much money, okay, what do we got? Okay, I've got $1.25. Will that make a movie? Well, here, that's 75 cents, too much. Nobody, I mean, we're talking travel logs that guys had made on vacation, and they sold them. They sat there and talked about it. I mean, I worked on one series where they had the greatest beauty, you know, ding, 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 ding. They had, you know, remember their family sat backstage with the bell, ding, 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 ding. I like the bell music, the show sucks. But they're showing, you know, women in certain Asian countries have not yet learned to dress completely when they're working. And they got the Japanese girls with the outfits tied around their waist and they're diving into the water. You know, there's the pearl divers. And then, you know, you can see that why we have to take care of our brothers and sisters in the South, because they haven't learned that you should wear clothes in public yet.
Are you serious?
We were not politically correct in those days.
They said those things on...
Oh, yeah. They would go to places that I knew were civilized, and they put on a thing, you know, that it is why the ministries are coming to this part of the world to teach the young ladies and the young men that they cannot walk around naked. So, I mean...
Not that there wasn't any agenda on that one.
Oh, yeah, basically that was a right-wing agenda, but no, but... my father and I worked on Roy Rogers, we worked on Gene Autry, we worked on the Cisco Kid. I love the Cisco Kid. Cisco Kid was all done in color. Cisco Kid color. All 100 and something, 5 years worth of things in color. Mm-hmm. But they didn't have any budget. It was all done in, basically they would do some of the scenes in Lone Pine, which basically we've been up to. Actually, we've shown people, we've been up there and filmed in some of the areas. And they would do some of the stuff there, and they go up and film a whole bunch at once with horse chases and shooting behind the rocks. But I guarantee you, Leo Carrillo once, my father, I'm there and he asked him, Leo Carrillo, I've said this before. Leo asked Leo Carrillo, why do you do this when you shoot the gun? And he said, well, because we don't have enough powder in our bullets to make them get out of the end of the gun, so I do that to make it look like I'm shooting. So, well, because they were really cheap, there was no money for this stuff. I mean, they would basically look at Gunsmoke, half-hour shows. They show, they show sometimes, the backdrop is painted. It is totally painted, the backdrop. You can see there's nothing there. Because they got bigger, they actually built a studio, they built a place for them to shoot at, but in the beginning of the half-hour thing, a half gun will travel. Basically, they got a stock shot of the city of San Francisco, then they go to his hotel, which is generally a room or in the hallway, and then he goes out in the country to exactly the same locations every single time. They never vary. I mean, you can tell this, maybe they shoot it from a different angle, but it's still Lone Pine. And then Virginia, I worked at 20th Century, I worked at Universal Virginia stuff. Basically, the house on the top of the hill, which is the Psycho House, was there. And then the ranch, the Western Ranch. But all they would do is just throw some dirt or something on it and then make it, but that was all done on a soundstage, except when they were out in the country to do the stock shots. But you gotta do that stuff. Like if you, David L. Loper? Okay, Wolper. Yeah, Wolper. They basically did a lot of these things for television. I remember when I was younger and he was talking, he said you got to shovel a lot of it before you could actually do the good stuff, because the shoveling gets it to where people are paying attention. So it is. You'd think that my My family goes back to 1904 in the film industry in this country. My grandmother came from the East Coast to the West Coast with the Edison Company, because they decided, well, because the weather was crappy back there in the Edison studio, so they came out here to work on the West Coast where the weather was nicer, where you didn't have to have all these things, you know, like Edison stage turned so we could get to the lights in the East Coast. But basically, I remember my father saying that when he remembered they had no budget. He's working as a kid. They had no budget. I mean, they'd ask, you know how you got roles in movies?
How?
Do you have a tux? Oh, okay. Do you have an evening gown? We got the leads. You know, that's how it worked. Then my father said he did a thing with Gary Cooper and Walter Brennan, and both of them were like, they made money wrangling horses, and there's a good one. He said, you know, they saw Cooper and you know, basically during their free time, Cooper and Walter Brennan were out in the back, you know, boom, boom. And they said, you got ammunition? And they said, yeah. You're hired. You know, they what? And they said, well, we need somebody that actually can fire their guns. And they said, but these are real bullets. And they said, just don't fire at anybody. But that's sort of how you got hired. Okay, my father knew, but we also knew Buster Crabbe, and the Buster Crabbe basically he was an early Tarzan. He was also Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers. And my father said, well, how did you go from Tarzan to Buck Rogers? And he said, I had a suit. I was doing a play, and I had a skin tight leotard. and my father, a leotard? Yeah, just gave me some damn boots, and I became Buck Rogers. That's if you had, in the early days, they'd ask you, you know, you'd fill out a resume and said, I got jobs in Westerns because I had my own gear. I had my own horse, my own gear, and all of this stuff. You know, I had my own German outfit, you know, because my foundation. So, but I could also speak Dutch. And I also look like I'm very Teutonic. But that's the only time I ever got to have blonde hair was when I was doing Germans. Mm-hmm. But if you had your own gear, you tended to get hired in the early days of films and television because they had no budget. I mean, why? Okay, anybody notice that I Love Lucy was shot? Maybe it shot with a 3-camera system. There was basically the nightclub, their apartment, and the Mertz's apartment, and that was basically the whole show. Mm-hmm. That was it. But people aren't willing to. Okay, this is what I was reading that you know, from the 3Net, which is the Sony. They got a nice little page up that says 3Net. It does nothing, but they got a page up for the network that says 3Net. It's going to be there's a collaboration between Sony, Discovery, and IMAX. And we're going to present quality programs that the people of this nation are demanding to see. Well, no, they just want to see something on in 3D. They wouldn't care if it was, basically it was somebody, if it was a drunk walking into a bar.
They'd probably think that was funny because you see the boom.
I come from an era when we had test patterns. Mm-hmm. And music playing in the background. Why do you think when stations are off the air, they had a picture, today they still have a picture of music, because people actually will watch that stuff. They actually do. It hasn't changed a lot. But you're never going to have 3D TV unless you produce the programming. I mean, I'll tell you.
And the people doing the programming won't do it unless they have an outlet for it.
What you do is you're going to have to go buy the Disneys, the Universals, all of them. Go buy them.
Here's something like a company. I'm going to say Sony, for example, because Sony has the equipment.
Yeah.
They have the TVs.
Yeah.
Right. And they do some Sony programming.
But they don't do it.
They do Sony movie, the entertainment division for the theaters.
Yeah, but they do, okay, this is another example. I had a company, we've heard it at Las Vegas, I won't tell you. I mean, one of the companies say that we're strategically placed for 3Ds in the movie industry. They're strategically placed, which means they turn out one or two. that strategically places a major
But see,
company.
part of it is some of these companies, right, that are hesitant here, are doing a lot more in China than they are doing here in the United States.
No, because they're, I'm gonna tell you, the problem is, once again, you come down to it, is they can't afford to work in the United States to do 3D. It's cost prohibitive. I mean, it's not, my father worked in an era before the unions, and then he worked with the unions and all this stuff, and the unions have been, for some time, the unions have been a thorn in the side of the entire entertainment industry. I mean, when you got the head of the Screen Actors Guild, who was Patty Duke, making a decision to go somewhere else to work because she had a family to feed. I mean, that's why so many, like they said, the reason why this American superhero, comic book heroes are all European is because our actors tend to look too much like Zac Efron and Robert Pattinson and other people. No. It's because it costs too much money to film 3D in the United States. And basically, other countries have a limit on the American actors that can be put in their production. Like if you want to boost the ratings, you put in like a Donald Sutherland in a movie, and he's Canadian, so he basically doesn't count, but then he counts because he's not a citizen of that country. But that's how you boost the audience appeal. You cannot afford to do 3D in the United States in a union zone. Can't be done because.
How much does it add? Is it 25 or 33%? I forget.
It runs 30 to 33% more to make a 3D picture than it does a standard picture. Part of that is because of union salaries. So, I mean, the unions have their place, folks. I mean, you want the union to kick butts if somebody is screwing them on the money they should be paid, on work rules, all of that stuff. But when a union is basically crushing business, when you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. So they go to Canada or they go to Yugoslavia.
And see, that's part of that is hurting the industry itself, but also the 3D.
3D, because those people don't have the equipment set up to do it there. So you're gonna have major productions and the little productions. It's the little productions. We're gonna start turning out hopefully a feature a week very shortly. We have the personnel, we have the equipment, we proved it can be done. We actually have a project in a film festival that we did, and it's a mockumentary, but those things can be done. Anybody, I mean, we need the little guys. We need all the little guys out there that want to produce 3D and are producing 3D.
It would be like a cult following.
Yeah, no, we'll get it. We're gonna create a channel. We're gonna put that bloody thing on. If nobody else wants to do it, we will, because we're not. I'm old and I don't have any better sense, and she will try anything. So yeah. Well, she grew up in a nunnery, so. So we're basically we're going to put it on. I'm looking for a spot that we can put the channel on the air, and then you're going to see the little guys turning out the half-hour shows in 3D, the comedies. You can do a hell of a lot. I mean, I could picture John Ritter starring in a physical 3D comedy. I could picture, Michael J. Fox, he's got Parkinson's disease. I could picture him doing that stuff. Jimmy Stewart.
He'd probably have fun with it.
There are a lot of young actors out there, the comedians, that would just have a great day doing 3D comedy. And you could do 3D, horse shooting ordinances. You could do sci-fi, you could do war things, you could do scenes. We went some funny stuff with the old guy out there with his, stomach stuck out to there. So running in the water at his age. So yeah. So we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of things. We got a lot of young people that are very good at what they do. They're also young producers. They got things that are going to the film festival market, and we're going to have different things. We're going to have like sci-fi theater. We're going to have a noir, 3D noir. We're going to have comedy. We're going to have news. We do news every day. We're the only people in the world that really supply 3D news on a daily basis, and we have for well over a year now.
Yeah.
So. We've done so much news that I had to put another news channel out available. So, but contact us. Okay. Okay, we're going to finish up the piece that was so rudely interrupted by the Grammy Awards. We had to stop because You know, if you were listening, the phone would not stop ringing. None of the phones would stop ringing. She's very important.
So I had to see what was going on.
And as she's getting ready to go out to her event, tonight is Black Eyed Peas.
Yay!
So she's getting ready for that now. So we're gonna finish it up. We're talking when we had to just stop.